Have you ever been judged by another person? Or maybe we'll take it a step further. Have you ever judged another person? Maybe even to discover later that you may have been wrong about your original perspective or thoughts of who that person was. I know I've been there in all three accounts. And I'd like to talk to you about that today. So join me. Judgment. On the surface, it sounds like, it can sound so harsh. And sometimes we often dismiss it, especially when it comes to when we are the ones who are doing the judging. Today, I want to talk to you about some of my journey as I have been walking down this path of growth and discovering things about myself and the journey that I've been on. And I'm bringing this up today because a little while back I watched the movie The Shack. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you watch this movie. And there was a profound scene in there that just reminded me of how easy it is for us to think our judgments are justified, only to find out that it's not so easy as we like to think that it is. Because we don't think about the full consequences of what our judgments really unfold. So how does this apply to me and my story and my journey? Well, you see, we all go through these periods of time when we think that we are in some way right about things, and I've been that way, especially when it comes to my faith as a Christian man. There have been times in my life where I would look at other people and I'm like, they don't believe the same way that I do. And I'd have this attitude towards them that wasn't very welcoming, to be honest with you. And even at times with my own fellow believers, because they didn't believe the same things that I did or believe the same way that I do in regards to my walk with God and my relationship with Him. And it's been very easy for me to look at these people and just be like dismissive or kind of arrogant in a way. And just say like, yeah, if only they knew. Oh, why can't they think the same way that I do? And there's a part of me that wants to elevate myself above them, because in some way it makes me feel good. It makes me feel better, like I am better than, that my faith walk is better than the next person's. My journey is going to be more impactful because I went through this, or I believe this philosophy in my faith that others don't see. And it's very easy for me to then, when I look at these people in this way, to not see them for who they truly are. And the funny thing is the more I looked at these things about my life and how I've perceived others, it really comes down to a lot of how I see myself. You know, and I've been on the other side of it. Like, I've seen and I've had experience where people have judged me wrongly. Have made accusations towards me that didn't feel good. That did, to be honest with you, affect my emotional well-being. It affected my mental well-being. And I allowed these people to occupy that space in my life because I put value on their judgment of me, even though there was a part of me that knew that it was wrong. So I faced both sides of it. And I have been in that space where I have judged others, only to find out that what I originally thought was the story behind the story wasn't the true story behind the story. And it's been on this journey that I've been on as I've been walking this journey in my life, learning more about myself, learning more about my connection to God, my belief, my faith, how I connect to other people, how I see other people. It is having these experiences and not condemning myself on them, but recognizing where that comes from. And when I think about this movie, The Shack, and I don't want to be spoiling anything for any of you who haven't watched it, but in this scene, because we oftentimes judge God as well. And this scene was kind of like that, right? Like in this movie, the fellow, the main character of this story, had something very tragic happen to him. And to be honest with you, if this tragedy would have happened to me in my life, I would have felt a lot the same way he did. And he judged not only the person who caused the harm, but he was judging God. And it's so easy for us to put ourselves in this position because we've been hurt, because we've been wronged, or simply because we think we know better than somebody else. And in this story of the shack, he gets confronted and he gets put in the judgment seat in a way that he wasn't expecting. And what he wasn't expecting was that God, in this character, they portrayed God as the character of wisdom in this scene, told him, well, you have to choose between your son or your daughter. And the choice you have to make is which one of them is going to go to heaven and which one of them is going to go to hell. Now, I know for myself, I would never want to be put into that position. I have 3 children. I love each and every one of them dearly. And I would never in my life want to be put into that position of having to make that decision. Which one would I lift up and which one would I condemn? And yet that's something that we ask God to do every day in some way or some form. When somebody wrongs us, somebody hurts us in some way. Or if we see ourselves if I see myself as being better than somebody because of what I believe. And as you can imagine, he's like, I can't make that choice. How dare you put me in this position where I have to choose between two people that I love, that have done no wrong? And God was asking the same question of him. Then why are you asking me to do the same thing? See, when we're confronted with this question, when we're put into that situation, it makes it more visible to us of how unconventional we can be and how short-sighted we can be in the way that we view life, the way that we view others, the way that I view others, the way I can be short-sighted. And there's something very powerful there that each and every one of us, that I, myself, has to look at when it comes to how do we view other people. Are we going to be the ones to be sitting on the judgment seat, pointing our fingers, accusing them of things? And I'm not saying that people don't do terrible things. I'm not saying that we're to excuse people's behaviors or their actions because of something that's happened to them. I do believe in accountability. That's one of the reasons why I'm so vulnerable with you guys when I share this stuff. Because it's a part of me saying, hey, I gotta be accountable to this too. It's not just me talking these words of wisdom or whatever you want to call them that I've learned over the years that I share with you guys. I share from a place from my heart because there's a part of me that recognizes that I gotta be accountable for my actions too. And just because somebody has judged me wrongly or judged me improperly does give me the right to judge them back. And just because somebody has done something wrong towards me or has harmed me in some way that in our mind's eye deserves some form of justice or retribution, doesn't mean that I have the right to judge them. One of the things that I see happening in the world today, and one of the reasons why we live amongst so much chaos, or that we see so much chaos, it's because of our hearts. It's because of us judging others without knowing the fullness of what we are really judging or condemning. Again, it's not about excusing the people for the harms that they do. It's not about dismissing those harms. Because those things are real. But we do have a choice as to whether we maintain our sovereignty in these situations and maintain a sense of our own identity in this, or do we choose to be the victim and continually whine and gripe and blame others there are things that happen to us that are beyond our control. And I'm not saying that we have to be joyful and happy in all things. I'm not saying that we don't have to feel like that we have to always, dismiss the idea of being a victim. But what do we hold on to? What do I hold on to? See, when I hold on to this idea of victimhood, when I hold on to this idea that I am superior to other people, it causes me to not see the fullness of not only who they are, but it also causes me to not see the fullness of who I am. And that's destructive. It's destructive for me. It's destructive for the people around me. It's destructive for you who are listening to this message right now. And there's always a lesson to be learned in all of this. And the lesson isn't about perfection. It's not about condemnation. There's actually a lot of grace in this lesson. And that grace comes from us letting go of these ideas that we have to be right, that we have to be superior, that we have to be the victim, or whatever other label that we want to put on ourselves. It doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve me. When we learn to let go of judgment, and we open ourselves up to other possibilities, other perspectives, to see things from a different view, from a different lens, it opens us up to the opportunity to extend grace, to extend forgiveness, to extend mercy. And those actions, forgiveness, grace, mercy, love, they have the ability to create a much more stronger impact in another person's life than holding a grudge or allowing our ego and our pride to overtake us. The lessons that I learned, not only from watching this movie, but from my life journey, has been, I don't know it all. I can't even begin to know it all. I don't know the other person's story. And even if I do know highlights of it, I do not know the fullness of how it has affected them, how it has influenced them into the actions that they have taken. I don't know the pain that they're going through. I don't know what they're hiding from. And through that, I can only see glimpses of who they are. I can only see glimpses of the potential of who they could be. And that's something that we all need to be mindful of, especially in today's world. when we're interacting with people who have different ideals, differing perspectives, differing faiths, different ways of how they behave. It's not about excusing their behaviors or their actions. It's not about letting them get away with harmful crimes. It's about seeing them for who they are as a human being. The other lesson that I learned through this journey is oftentimes the way I perceive myself is how I project onto others. And so if I do not see myself in a healthy, whole fullness way, if I do not love myself in certain ways, those things that I despise about myself, those things that I do not like about myself, get mirrored back to me through those people that I often judge. And so the question comes back, am I really judging them or am I judging myself? Something to really, really think about in this journey as we consider the idea of judgment and how we perceive others. One of the things that I have been working on in my life is to slow down and not be so quick to judge others. To make an attempt to get a more fuller understanding of the story, of the overall picture of what's going on. And even in that, because my limited knowledge of it will never be fully complete. And therefore, to not come from a place of judgment, but to come from a place of awareness, to come from a place of love, to come from a place of forgiveness, grace, mercy. To do my best to see people for who they are, as a human being. Another person who is in this realm of time, who is on a journey just like I am, who is imperfect just like I am imperfect. How can I see them through God's eyes? There are many times, there's stories in the Bible of how Jesus interacted with people that were going to be condemned. And one of those stories that I like to refer to often is the woman that was caught in adultery. The religious leaders, for those of you who know the story or who don't, the religious leaders of that time brought this woman forward, forcefully pushing her in front of them, and then pushing her to the ground in front of Jesus, and made this bold declaration. This woman was caught in adultery. The law says that she is to be stoned to death. That is her fate. We judge her, we condemn her. Teacher, what do you have to say about this? And Jesus didn't say anything. He got down on his knees, got down to her level, and was quiet for a moment. Drawing in the sand. We don't know what he was drawing. There's a lot of speculation. But he was just there, present with her. I can only imagine how uncomfortable these religious leaders would have been at that time. In that silence. Because in their mind's eye, they were right. This woman was condemned. This woman was to be judged. She was to be stoned to death. And they had every justification to do so because of the law said that those who are caught in adultery, that is the punishment. And I can imagine equally as uncomfortable would have been the lady who was there on the ground, knowing her fate, knowing that she was going to be stoned to death. Uncomfortable in that silence, thinking, what is he going to do? I know the law. I know my fate. There would have been fear, turmoil. It would have been uncomfortable. I'm sure she was feeling quite a lot of anguish, especially from the heated energy that she was feeling from the religious leaders. But Jesus was neither heated nor uncomfortable. He was just calm and present. And what he said next caught everybody off guard. Which one of you is without sin? Let you be the one to cast the first stone. I know this is an English translation of the story, but imagine, because I've been there, being this haughty person, wanting to judge somebody, wanting to condemn somebody, because I felt that they've done wrong, that they deserve justice. And then I'm faced with this reality that I have to look at myself and say, wait a second, I'm not so innocent here. So who am I to cast the first stone? And the story continues on to say that these religious leaders, one by one, walked away. And after they were all gone, Jesus looked into the eyes of the woman and said to her, "Where are those who judge you?" And I imagine being that one to be in that situation and to lift up your head, to look around and not seeing anybody there, being confused. What just happened? And Jesus said, "There's none here to judge you, and I do not judge you. Now go on, live your life, and sin no more." You see, that's such a powerful story. And it's such a reminder of my life. How many times have I gone wrong? How many times have I gone astray? How many times have I been in that space where I'm on the ground, condemned? And God said to me, there's nobody here to judge you, so I'm not going to judge you. Therefore, go and be free. See, our judgment of others is oftentimes, like I said earlier, is a judgment of ourselves. And if God's not going to judge me, then why am I judging myself? If God isn't judging others, then why am I judging them? It's a lot to think about. But I want to thank you for joining me on this journey, for taking in this story, for taking in this time to participate. And I want you to think about the times that you've been judged by others, times that you've judged others, and those times where you found out that your judgment of those people was inaccurate. What you thought to be true wasn't true. And I'd like you to think about how you would go forward from now on, and how you will look at other people, look at other perspectives. Are you going to continue to go down the place of judgment? Or are you going to allow for grace to come into the picture? Love, forgiveness, and mercy. Until next time, much love. I want to thank you today for taking the time to watch this video. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about the messages that I put forward on this channel. And I'm also very passionate about where I'm going and moving forward with in Lifting the Soul Ministries. So if you would like to support me in any way, I would ask that you please hit the like and subscribe button on this channel, but also reach out to me at j.cormac@liftingthesoulministries.com. That is j.cormac@liftingthesoulministries.com. And all this information will be provided in the comments below. Much love.